R&R with Tony and Lisa. Today's podcast, that whale needs to stay in the ocean. Let's go to the throne.
So I was spending time with Jesus, and you know what I learned?
What did you learn?
I learned that that whale needs to stay in the ocean.
What whale?
So let me put it this way. So what happens when there's a beached whale? When people see a beached whale, what do?
You mean other than, oh my God, it's a beach whale, poor
yes,
thing.
aside from that, yes.
Well, in today's day and age, they take out their cell phone and start taking
my
videos.
I need you to focus, please.
I'm guessing they would try to put him back in.
They put him back in,
Yeah.
Right? Because where does he belong?
In the water, in the ocean.
In the water. And what would happen if he stayed on the beach? Understand? He would die.
He would die.
Right.
Yes.
So I've recently been fed by someone that really gave me something critical for my life.
Okay.
And it boiled down to me leaving that whale in the ocean, and that whale was my sins. See, he, when I asked for forgiveness,
Mm-hmm.
and when he shed his blood, it washed away my sins, right?
Yes.
Right, but see, I kept going in the ocean and pulling that whale back out. And what happens is that whale will die. Every time I pull that whale back out, my sin back out, and attached it to me, I was killing myself.
Yes.
And he would throw it back in the ocean, and here go Lisa. No. And he's like, but it belongs in the ocean. So I have to keep saying to myself, that whale needs to stay in the ocean. I need to stop attaching this thing to me like an extra appendage that I wasn't even born with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but how often do we walk with that? How often do we lead with that shame and that guilt?
Yeah.
And we don't need to. It's not even mine anymore. And I go out in that ocean. I can't even swim. And here I go in the ocean. Here I go.
You know, I was just about to say that. I was like,
I'm going into something that
I said, that's
I'm not
amazing.
even, right. Come on now.
You can't even swim.
I can't even swim. I'm going out in the ocean, getting the whale. just going into territory that I'm not equipped to go into, to grab my sin
Yeah.
and bring it back. How shameful is that?
Yeah.
And then I wonder why I feel bad and why I feel uncomfortable and why I'm not getting where I need to get to.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm walking with something that's not even mine, that was taken care of.
Yeah. Well, like we said before, you know, we're forgiven, but we don't receive that
Come on,
forgiveness.
say that. Say that.
You know, we know that we're forgiven, but do we actually receive that forgiveness?
Right.
You know, we'll say, all right, Lord, forgive me of our sins, thought, word, and deed. And then we'll get up off our knees, amen, and go on about our business. But we don't listen long enough. We don't stay connected long enough to receive the actual forgiveness.
Right.
And hear God say, I forgive you. Now, go sin no more, of course, is what Jesus said.
Right.
But God says, I forgive you.
Right.
And then he throws it into the sea of forgetfulness.
Right.
He does.
Right.
But we don't.
And I step out there and I go back and get it. It's like, what?
We're like, Lisa, now I done threw that out there.
Come
what
on,
are you doing?
Poor whale. Come on. Back and forth.
Yes. So
it's just a good reminder. I know I've since I've decided to leave that whale in the ocean, and this is very, 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 very recent.
Mm-hmm. Like 2 days ago?
Again, nobody asked you for the time, and I just said very, very recent.
I was just putting a little perspective on it.
Oh, you're so sweet.
The family needs to know.
I feel lighter. I feel the difference.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, man, listen, I'm tired of going in the ocean and grabbing some stuff that I don't need to grab. Mm-hmm. So I am officially whale free. If you know, I'm talking new whales. I might get some new ones. Listen. I'm just saying, I'm human. I'm human.
Might get a perch or a guppy or catfish, you know. But I'm done with the whales.
Listen, no, and those when he puts them in, I'm gonna leave them in the ocean. We just have to remember that whale needs to stay in the ocean. When he says it's gone, it's gone. We don't need to get up and continue to walk with that shame and that guilt and the pain and all of the things that sin does.
I find that very hard for a lot of people to, they'll say that they know that God has forgiven them.
Yeah.
But they won't forgive themselves.
Right.
And they'll keep, like you said, they'll keep walking with that sin and that shame and that guilt and that pain. And they won't let it go. Even though they know God has forgiven them for it, they still won't let it go.
Well, think about it this way. Even if you and I get into something and I hurt you,
Oh yeah, I ain't letting that go.
You know what? Stop it. And I hurt you and I say, I'm so sorry. Do you forgive me? And you say yes. I potentially will get up and still feel bad. Part of it is because I feel like it's the punishment I deserve for hurting you. Mm-hmm. And I don't think, I deserve the forgiveness. The other part is, but if I walk around like everything is cool, you might not really believe that I've meant that I'm sorry. So it's almost like, True. Well, let me prove that I really, really mean it when I say, please forgive me, Lord. There's so many things that go on in our mind when we say, please forgive me.
Right.
Between the please forgive me and the get up and be free, if you will. Mm-hmm. So many things play in our mind. Is it okay that I actually am getting up and I'm free of it? Am I being disrespectful to God if I get up and act like, okay, now we're good? Am I discounting it? Mm-hmm. Am I, you know what I mean? So we have to remember that, God is not going to mince words. If he says, I've forgiven you, move on. He really means it. Just like if someone you're with says, I forgive you, it's okay. You don't have to keep saying, you sure you good? You forget.
And remember, God is not us.
Thank God for that.
So when he says it, you can count it.
Yeah.
People, I forgive you. And then 2 months later, they bring it back up in an argument. God ain't going to do that. He ain't going to do that. Yeah. So you can rest, assured that when he says he forgives you, you are forgiven. So.
I'm working on that.
Okay.
I have that on loop in my head.
That's it.
He truly means it. He truly means it. It's like leave that whale in the ocean.
It's like a hook.
Yes, it's true. Because I have to combat all the other things that say you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Don't accept it. Go on and get that whale out that ocean. Yeah. Bring that back.
And then too, family, we got to remember that a lot of us, we've been out of a relationship longer than we have been in the relationship with God. So,
right.
Again, it's I won't say practice, but it's practice.
Yeah.
You have to constantly work at it. You have to do the work.
Yeah. And I mean, as you indicated, with people, we live in a world where they look so, they look with a magnifying glass at your past and allow it to dictate how they're going to handle your future. So we look at God the same way.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
You go somewhere, you hand them a resume, they're looking at your past.
Yeah.
They're looking at your credit, they're looking at your past, and you're like, but I'm not that person anymore. And God says, I know.
Social media. Something
right.
that you posted when you were 16 and you're 32 now, have lived life, and the world is different and your thought process is different. You've learned, you've evolved.
Right.
But yet they want to hold what you tweeted at 16 against you today at 32.
They go get that whale out that ocean.
They go get that whale.
So we have the same mindset with God. So I'm really working on, and it's difficult to separate.
Yeah.
It's difficult because I can't walk in the world that way. I still live here.
Right.
So yes, it's a process, but I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
All right. So the moral is, leave that whale in the ocean.
Leave that whale in the ocean.
Especially if you can't swim.
Come on now, say that.
All right, there you have it, people. Love and blessings. Love and blessings. Thank you for listening to Let's Talk R&R with Tony and Lisa. Follow us on Instagram at Let's Talk R&R, where we welcome your feedback.